Hey everybody, Ryan here at eTrailer. Today on our 2022 Jeep Wrangler Unlimited, we're going to be showing you how to install the etrailer.com trailer hitch receiver. But before we do that, why don't we check it out and make sure that this is the right hitch for your Jeep. When it comes to a Jeep, there's a ton of different accessories out there for them, and that's really no different when it comes to a trailer hitch. Honestly, having a hitch on the back of your Jeep just makes sense. You know, you're going to be able to do a lot of different things with it, whether you're trying to pull your trailer around or even use accessories like a bike rack or a cargo carrier. Having the hitch on the back is really going to open up your opportunities and let you do those types of things. With this hitch being a class 3, that means it's going to have the 2" by 2" receiver tube opening, and it's a really common size. A lot of different stuff will work with it. At the end, there is a reinforced collar for a little bit of extra support, and it is going to use that standard 5/8 pin and clip. And keep in mind though, pin and clip doesn't come with the hitch. If you need one, not a huge deal. You can always grab one here at eTrailer. It is going to have plate style safety chain openings, and they're going to be big enough and far enough back to where you should be able to use just about any size hook that our trailer might have. When it comes to the hitch's weight capacities, it's going to have a 350 pound maximum gross tongue weight rating, and that's going to be the amount of weight pushing down on the hitch. So that's a decent number. You should be able to use a lot of different bike racks and cargo carriers, just to kind of give you an example there. As far as the maximum gross trailer weight rating, that's going to be 3,500 pounds. That's going to be the amount of weight pulling on the hitch. So the weight of trailer plus anything that you might have on it. The hitch can be used with the weight distribution system, which is a separate component, and if you do use that, what it's going to do is keep your Jeep and your trailer level whenever you're towing it down the road. So if you plan on kind of pushing the limits a little bit, have a big camper, something along them lines, that might be a part we're checking out. But if you do end up using that, it is going to increase the hitch's weight capacities by a little bit. The maximum gross tongue weight will go up to 400, and the maximum gross trailer weight will be increased to 4,000. With all that in mind though, I do always like to recommend, never a bad idea just to grab your Jeep's owner's manual. That way you can make sure your vehicle can pull that much weight safely. Now let's go ahead, just grab a few measurements, and these are going to help us figure out what type of accessories will work best. You go from the ground to the top inside edge of the receiver tube opening. That's going to be about 19.5 inches. So if you plan on doing some towing and need a ball mount, chances are pretty good you can get one that has a slight drop in its shank. You go from the center of the hitch pin hole to the edge of the rear bumper. It's going to be about 2.5 inches. And from that pinhole to the edge of our spare tire, that's going to be about 8 inches. And you can use those to help figure out that if any folding type accessories you might have can be stored in that upright position without contacting your spare tire. With that in mind, you know, these Jeeps are really popular to put lift kits on, bigger tires and everything else. So that would obviously affect those measurements I just gave you. So something to think about. But just for a reference, the spare tire on the back of our Jeep today is a 245/75 R17. Other than that, though, at the end of the day, a good happy medium all-around hitch. You know, you're gonna be able to do a lot of different things with it. And honestly, it's probably my favorite looking one, just because it sits relatively flush to the bumper and has the matte black finish. I think it matches the bumper and just kind of blends in a little bit better. I do want to mention, if you plan on primarily just using accessories, might not be a bad idea to get a hitch they make them where they come out a little bit further, and that'll give you some better clearance, especially if you have a larger size spare tire. But just wanted to mention that. When it comes to getting the hitch installed, really not bad at all. Essentially, you just lift it up and put the bolts through and tighten them down. So really not too complicated, really shouldn't run into too many issues. But speaking of that, why don't we go ahead, pull into the garage and put it on together now. To begin our installation, we're going to be working here at the back of our Jeep, and along this cross beam here, we're going to have some attachment points that we're going to use to bolt up our hitch. If we look at this cross beam here, we're going to have a total of 4 attachment points. So this hole, this one, and that one. And now that we identified, you know, our attachment points of where we're going to be working, let's go ahead and just go over the hardware combination that we're going to use. Now that we identified our attachment points, we'll go over the hardware that we're going to use to secure the hitch. So you're going to have a bolt and a flat washer. You're going to put the washer on, and then obviously when our hitch is up in place, we're going to feed the hardware through the attachment point. And then once it comes out the other side, you're going to take a flange nut and simply thread it on. And that's going to be the hardware combo for all 4 locations. But now that we know what we're going to use, I'll get this out. We can grab our hitch and get it up into position. Now we can grab our hitch and the holes in it, get a line up with our attachment points. Get that into position. And then take the hardware that we talked about and get it started. Sometimes this can be a little bit tricky to try to line up. Usually once you get the first one going, everything else will just kind of fall into place. Once all the bolts are through, we can take our flange nuts and get them all started hand tight. We'll just do that one at a time here. So once you have all the hardware hand tight, you can take some wrenches and snug it up. 19mm or 3/4 will work. I like to use these when I'm doing this just because you don't have a lot of space. Although you can get a regular socket in here on this side. So whatever you got or whatever you prefer will work just fine. We'll go ahead and snug all these down. At this point, we need to come back with a torque wrench and tighten down all the hardware to the amount specified in the instructions. If you don't have a torque wrench, you can grab one here at eTrailer, or a lot of times go to your local auto parts store and they should have one there available that you can rent. And that'll finish up our look at and our installation of the etrailer.com trailer hitch receiver on our 2022 Jeep Wrangler Unlimited.